couple of weeks ago, when things were at their worst with West Ham, there were a lot of people saying we've got to apply pressure. We've got to keep the pressure on David Sullivan to make sure he doesn't give David Moyes a new deal. Now, a few of you will remember this because I was saying he doesn't care. He does not care what West Ham fans think. David Sullivan very much would have been looking at the West Ham fans and saying, I don't care that they're kicking off. I really don't care. They were doing this last season. Things turned out okay. They're kicking off again. I'm going to continue to do what I was doing. Don't get me wrong. I do think David Sullivan cares about a perception in the media, but he certainly doesn't care about websites and YouTube channels and things like that. He really doesn't. TalkSport, yes, he would care what their TalkSport's perception of his is. He would care certainly what Sky Sports do, things like that. But he really doesn't. I suspect he doesn't have an awful lot of faith in the West Ham fans' point of view. And do you know what? I mean, look, he's a successful businessman, right? He's probably got to where he is by sticking by his decisions, and he's been very, very successful at it. No doubt about that at all. But it certainly was making me think, you know, what's Sullivan thinking about this whole thing with the fans kicking off? Now, just take you very, very quickly through the timeline of it. Start of the season, it was a case that David Moyes would be offered a new deal, or they would review his contract at the end of the season. Then West Ham started to do really well, went through that really good purple patch. And then there was, I think, probably high demand from a lot of quarters from the outside media that David Sullivan should give David Moyes a new deal. So it started happening in about November. There was murmurings that he'd be offered a new deal. Then we got to December, and then it was a case of, look, a new deal is on the table. It's imminent. We heard that from David Moyes, and we certainly got it leaked from the board. Then we went into a pretty bad run. We went into a bit of a tailspin, didn't we? And then I guess the information dried up. David Moyes was still saying there's a deal on the table. But then the board started to leak the fact that, no, we will wait until the end of the season. So it's been a little bit fluid. It certainly has. I think now, looking at it, I do wonder what the case would be now. Because it's in this situation of flux and you've got these up and downs, will it change again? As far as I was concerned, this is how things stand right now. If David Moyes is to get offered a new deal at the end of the season, he would have to buy into this European philosophy with the director of football, in this instance Tim Steidten, signs the players. If we let him go, obviously we let him go. Tim Steidten will assist in hiring a new manager. It really was as simple as that. There were only ever two options. But that was very much done when David Moyes was not in a position of strength. And even 2 weeks ago, David Moyes was not in a position of strength. But it does make me wonder how quickly things can change. And it's not so much will the board now sort of relent and offer him a deal before the end of the season. I don't think that will happen. But I do think there's a situation whereby David Moyes can perhaps wrestle back some of the control, which seemed to be leaning towards Tim Steidten. Now, this can go either way. And I really don't know. In as much as, actually, if you think what happened, actually, how Thomas Souček played, how West Ham played in that game against Everton, was, I think, a microcosm of the season and a microcosm of what can happen with David Moyes' situation. Because it can be up and down. At one point you think it's going down the pan, you think we're going into a tailspin and a nosedive, and then, you know, we clutch victory from the jaws of defeat. And I think certainly you look at our placing at the moment, 7th place in the league. I remember Jamie Carragher, I think it was, it would have been Monday Night Football last week, was looking at the various metrics by which they measure a Premier League teams, and we had better than our expected goals. We were pressing less than other teams. We were relying on our goalkeeper to make more saves. When you looked at all the stats did not point to a team that would be 7th now, for instance. The stats pointed to a team who should certainly be in the bottom half. And I think when you look at it and you think, you know, you look at the amount of times we dominate games, which is not often, it is quite miraculous that we're in 7th position. But I'm happy to concede that is David Moyes' style of football. Even though I don't like that style of football. And I can try and reiterate what I'm saying there as much as I like. Yesterday I did a video and I said I thought we were going to lose. I thought we were lucky. I thought Areola was man of the match. I thought it took a wonder goal to save us. I said all of those things yesterday, and I also said I'd probably think the end of the season is the right time to replace David Moyes. Yet there it was in the comments. Oh, I see. It's all happy now. It's all forgive and forget. You're happy with David Moyes? What? No. So I think some people are just never going to truly listen to what you're saying, and some people are so angry with David Moyes that they almost can't see what I think is going to happen at West Ham. And I understand it's going to be frustrating, but I think there is a situation where if David Moyes can even just, well, let me put it this way, never even just, if West Ham get European football again at the end of this season, I think that David Moyes absolutely is in a position whereby he is going to be able to leverage an amount of power away from Tim Steidten. And I do wonder at which point David Sullivan will find himself rethinking. Because whilst I said earlier on in the video that I believe that David Sullivan is single-minded, I believe that he's in a situation whereby he will do what he wants and he doesn't really care what the fans think. I still believe that to be the case. There's also the pragmatist there, and he loves being in the Premier League. He wants to stay in the Premier League. And whilst us as West Ham fans might be concerned, and maybe even a bit cross, that David Moyes has the smallest squad in the Premier League, maybe as a chairman you're looking at that as a good thing. Maybe you're thinking, well, hold on, the wage bill is right down at the moment, considerably down on where it was. Players have been allowed to leave. They haven't been replaced. I know we've spent a chunk on Calvin Phillips' loan fee and whatnot, but if we're in the Premier League and then the cherry on top is that we get into European football, it would be unprecedented. And whilst I don't like David Moyes' football, and I mean, let's be fair, I didn't like 85% of that. I don't know why I picked up 85%. Whatever, 3/4 of that game I did not enjoy at all, that game against Everton. It would be impressive. There's no doubt about it. It would be impressive to get 4 seasons in a row of European football. Unprecedented at West Ham, actually. And I think if it got to then David Moyes would be offered a new deal. I really do. But under what terms? Because he'd have a strong position, Moyesy. He'd have a strong position to say, well, actually, I will take the contract, but it'll be under my terms. Otherwise, I'll leave. And I'll tell you what, he would be... You've got to remember the perception from the outside. David Moyes will not anyway think he's finished in football. David Moyes will want to continue in football for a long, long time yet. I really do firmly believe that. He's not... Whilst I think he's frustrated, whilst I think he's not particularly well suited to like the media duties of modern day football, he's not tired with football. He's not tired of being a football manager. Far from it. If anything, I think David Moyes is probably convinced that his tactics are going to come full circle and come back into vogue. I really do. And I think there would be a number of clubs who would be willing to take on David Moyes. Not top clubs, by the way. Not top clubs at all. But he would probably be able to get the next Premier League job when the next manager gets in trouble and they need a firefighter, if you know what I mean. You get to that point in the season, next season. Someone will have a poor start. They won't have won first 8 games. They won't have won a game or whatever the case may be. Someone will sack their manager. They always do, don't they? But David Moyes will get the call. He'll know that. He's in a position of strength. So now I believe Sullivan is in a really, really big situation. But he's got to be really strong here, Sullivan. If what he actually believes that he wants the director of football model, that he wants that continental way of doing things, he's going to have to be really strong to see it through. The truth of the matter is I don't know what's going to happen. I could be convinced of anything. Can West Ham finish 7th? You're damn right we can. But what's got to happen then? We're going to have to win those games. We'll have to beat Burnley. And we're going to probably need 60-odd points. 18, so, yeah, it'll be around that mark. 17, 18 points. We're going to have to finish. I find it hard to believe that we can do that totally. I think we can do it, but will we? I'm not so sure. Certain things have got to go away. We can't have any injuries. That's going to be tough. We've got a small squad. We've got an old squad. He doesn't rotate too much. Chelsea have got to continue to be crap. Newcastle, with all their riches, I know they can't buy anyone now, but they've got a lot of players. They've just had a win. We've got our form between now and the end of the season has got to be better than Newcastle. It's got to be better than Brighton. It's got to be better than Chelsea. That's what I think has got to happen. Despite how patchy Man U are, it's hard to think that we can overhaul them. So that means we've got to be better than all those. We've got to keep everyone injury-free. And I think the other thing that's obviously got to happen is we need to get some wins against teams that we wouldn't expect. I mean, we've already done that this season. We had, obviously got wins against Arsenal, got wins against Man U. We're going to have to get a couple of those, Chelsea. We're going to need another win or two against them and beat the teams that are below us in the league. I don't think it's going to be easy. I really don't. And I think it's going to be really hard to finish 7th. Maybe European football gets 8th. Maybe, just maybe, quite possibly. I think it's going to be hard for us to win the Europa Cup, boss. I don't know. I really don't know. As I say, everything's up in the air. And I don't know any more about that than I knew when I was watching that Everton game, when I thought, well, anything can happen here, really, can't it? And it did. So I think, and I'll go back to what I said, 2-3 months ago, the board must not make a rash decision on Moyes. When it looked like they were about to offer him a contract early, I thought, no, they must not do that. They got to give themselves the luxury of time. They really do. It's going to be interesting. Be interested to know what you think about it. Not Moyes in or Moyes out, but actually, what do you think? I'm already fully aware that there are a number of people that Moyes in. Sorry, I spat then. Number of people are Moyes in, number of people are Moyes out. It's not that. That's not the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, do you think Sullivan can be swayed? Because I was convinced a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever, I was convinced that David Sullivan was going to go down. That David Sullivan was going to go down the road of basically appointing a new manager. Now I'm not so sure. 10 days ago, Tim Steidten's role within the club felt really strong. Now it doesn't. Maybe it's just me. Maybe they're not as the club are not fluctuating as much as I think they are, or as much as I am. I don't know. Anyway, later on today, I'm interviewing Dean Ashton. We've got a Q&A with Dean Ashton over on our Patreon channel. Patreon channel's our 3rd channel. It's a great way that you guys can help out by supporting Hammers Chat, and in return, basically, you get loads of additional content. Now, we're running a free trial at the moment. The free trial, 7-day free trial for our mild addicts. Yes, that will get you in and involved on the Dean Ashton Q&A. We did a Q&A, it was last month. Last month was Ian Bishop. And we've had loads of people on there. We've had former referees on there. We've had Harry Redknapp. We've had West Ham scouts, West Ham coaches. We've had loads of people. Loads of people that you would have heard of on there. Mark Warburton, he's been in the news again recently, hasn't he? We've got loads of stuff. We've got Hammerlytics on there. We've got opposition previews. We've got player ratings. We obviously do our player ratings book. That's actually out. It's actually going to be a big day on Patreon today. We've got 2 separate videos today. There's loads and loads of content on there. Big prizes given away all the time. Match day tickets, signed shirts, discounts to our online store. Honestly, there's loads and loads and loads of stuff. We think it's really good value, but we would say that. Go and check it out yourself. It's a free 7-day trial. If you don't like it, then just make sure you cancel it at the end, because it will automatically run into a subscription. We think it's really good value. We've got 3 different tiers on there. So go and have a look. Pick the one that's right for you. Links in the description below. That's patreon.com/hammerschat. We'd really appreciate it. That allows, not only for us to do Patreon videos, but it allows us to upload free videos like this one, which we do on both channels on a daily basis. We really appreciate your support. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.